do an introduction. You know, I represent, okay, so we got it. Okay. So just let us know when we're live, Jolene.
Okay, it's starting. Hold on. All right, you're live.
Hey, you guys, guess what's happening in Immigrant, Montana? We have the Native Wellness Live Power Hour, and all the trailblazers, the BIPOC, the Black, the Indigenous, the people of color are having a retreat here, and it's a think tank. They just got done wrestling some horses. They were like roping some calves, and then they were fly fishing, and then they ran in here to do the power hour. As you can see, we're all different colors. Eh?
Hey.
So Nisku Nidaniko Makoyo Sokoi, and I'm part of the Native Wellness Institute team. We are just doing Wellness Wednesday during the month of July, so you guys will all take a break, reset, and come back fighting. Eh? So we're I'd like you to meet Judith Hellman, who you've met in the past. Judith, tell us who you are and what's happening.
My name is Judith Heilman. I live in Bozeman area of Montana, and since 2005, originally from the San Francisco Bay Area. And I run the Montana Racial Equity Project, which is almost 6 years old. It's going to be 6 this year. And we are based in Bozeman, but we work the state. And you are looking at 3 of our employees and 1 who we work with and partner with a lot and are just delighted to partner with and work with. She's also a really nice person too. So we're here at a place called West Creek Ranch, which is a private convening area that is operated by AMB West or AMB Philanthropies. And it's in the Paradise Valley, about 15 minutes north of Yellowstone, the north entrance of Yellowstone. And we were granted a hard sought week here to convene for BIPOC people who are grass tops organizers, who are activists, who are data nerds and policy wonks here in Montana that are all BIPOC. Our group is dominant with Black and Indigenous, and we do have a few people, maybe 2 or 3 who aren't, but who are other races, Japanese American and
Puerto Rican.
All right. and another person who is Spanish and Mexican. So we're here just to talk about how we can collaborate on working together in solidarity because of our shared oppressions. For Black and Indigenous in particular, there's so many. And how we can be more powerful working together on issues such as racial equity, racial justice, police overreach, education reform, criminal legal reform, all those kinds of things. And so it's not just people from our organization, but it's people from ACLU of Montana, from Montana Women Vote, from Montana Budget and Policy Center, just a number of different organizations. And it's really, really fun to be here for, and also hard work, lots of laughter, but also lots of tears and more to come. So thank you, Theda, for being our Indigenous elder here and representing Blackfeet for you and for us. And it's just been all to everyone's benefit. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Judith. And you know, this is just a sample. You're looking at the trailblazers who we've suffered. Our parents suffered, our grandparents suffered, but we're thriving. This is a group that is just thriving. But we wanted to, like the last civil rights movement, there was a lot of reactive behavior. And since we want to take the lessons that we learned and we want to be proactive. So that fits right in with Native Wellness Institute about being positive, productive, and proactive. And so this BIPOC retreat is to let our spirits feel good. Let us feel good. let us listen to each other. So it's just been amazing to hear each other's history and to hear, even you've heard Judith before talk about her family that came from the plantation and got educated and just did not stop getting educated. And so each of us have a story, and we thought it would be good, because you guys know how to decide. But if you could hear some indigenous truths, some indigenous reclaiming, like we're still in Blackfoot territory. That's where I'm wearing the flag. Judith picked a spot that Siksikatepi, the Blackfoot Confederacy, this is still part of our territory. So it's an honor having all of you on our territory. And so I'd like to, Judith, you got our Puerto Rican. I just love this guy. I just love him. I want to listen to him because when you meet intelligence, but you gotta like listen and shut up. I just want to sit by him and listen to him. So maybe we'll start with the Puerto Rican element. Is that okay?
Sure, yeah. Thank you for having me, Theda. I am a little nervous, but I am very, very honored to be here. And I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the Blackfeet land, and I am so thankful to be able to share this land and space with you, and to be able to feel the spiritual energy, as we go through. And like yesterday, as you practiced the medicine, was such an honor to be a part of. I told Theda, Puerto Rican indigenous isn't really a thing. The Taino people who lived on the island were wiped out in the 1200s thanks to Christopher Columbus. And so, a lot of our culture, including religious ceremonies and stuff, has been lost. And, there are artifacts and you can read about it. And there are some groups who are trying to resuscitate the lost culture. But, it's just such a privilege to be able to see people I love and care about practice their culture and invite me to take part of it. Because one of the biggest things for me here is learning. I want to learn from my elders and from my friends and from the people who have come who I don't know super well yet, because you can't work together and fight together and have each other's backs if you don't have an understanding of who each other are and what their beliefs are and their culture. I mean, I mentioned yesterday as we did a group activity, one of the big things is learning and knowledge, because knowledge is power, whether it's indigenous knowledge or knowledge of your history, and the things that led us to the point where we are now. And I'm very grateful for the chance to receive this knowledge and understand everybody better so I can support them in our fight better. I guess I probably should have introduced myself to start. My name is Ray Jimenez. I'm half Puerto Rican, half white. I lived here in Montana for 15 years now, and I've been working at the MTREP for almost a year. I am Judith's executive assistant and our IT guy, and it's a privilege to be able to help facilitate this and work with everybody. But to continue on, another big reason I'm here is because I believe in BIPOC. I believe in First Nations. I believe in Puerto Ricans and Latinx. I believe in our Asian American Pacific Islander brothers and sisters. And I think that together, we're going to be able to accomplish great things. And, you touched on what we want to see in the next couple of years. And I want to see BIPOC leadership. I want to look at the face of, whether it's entertainment or art or politics, and not be surprised when I see that whether it's, indigenous, Latinx, Black, I don't want to be surprised, happily surprised, of course, when I see them. I want it to be the norm. I want BIPOC excellence to shine through, because the only reason we haven't seen BIPOC excellence is because colonizers have prevented us from displaying it. They keep us down, whether it's through their systems, whether it's through education, religious colonization. There's so much that BIPOC could accomplish and so much we could do, and we have to do it together. because without each other, we're just not as strong. You know, the group and the whole is really what's going to carry us. And we can fight individually, but you can't carry the whole struggle on your back as one person. You need the support of your community and those like-minded folks who are willing to support you in your fight. And when you stumble and fall down, they say, take a rest and we'll carry it on for you. And that's one of the things I love about this coalition, is that I know if I fall down and I say I need rest, you know, there are so many people here who are willing to say, brother, you take a minute, we're going to carry it on for you. And yeah, so that's the coalition to me, and that's why I'm here and why I'm just so ecstatic and happy to be a part of this with all of you guys. Blessed. I am blessed and privileged in a way that I don't think a lot of BIPOC are blessed and privileged. So thank you guys.
Can you tell us like, what's one wish? Like, what are you wishing like 5 years or even 10 years or even next year, or even, you know, when Kamala Harris is president or whatever? But tell us like one wish that you have for the future with BIPOC leadership and BIPOC growth.
I want to see BIPOC leadership and a cabinet full of BIPOC who are looking out for our communities and not, you know, focusing on imperialism and forcing our will on other BIPOC around the world, because that's the colonizer mindset, and we're not colonizers, and that's not our mindset. Our mindset is our community and taking care of each other. And so in 5 years of BIPOC leadership, I hope they're at the forefront, and I hope that they are able and not hindered by colonizer legislations, you know, to prevent them from passing things that benefit everybody.
Right?
Yeah. Like, right?
You know, what it should have been 20,
like, right?
not even 20 years, how it's always should have been. You know, it's always should have been like that. You know, the world is comprised of many people, and to have, you know, some group impose their will because they think that their will is superior because of the color of their skin and the way of colonized is unacceptable. And well, that's why we're here, because we're not going to allow it to happen anymore.
Yeah, snap fingers. It's just like that. You know, instead of clapping our hands, we're snapping our fingers. So I have these two divas here. and so what we'd like you to do is introduce yourself, and then your description of why we're here, and then what you're wishing for. So sister, let's start with you.
Okay. To the front. My name is Ray Howe Birdhat. My Indian name is Itarakosh, and it was given to me by my great grandmother, Agnes Yellowtail Deernose, and that means always has a good place to be. And that's what I feel here. The gathering, to me, it's awakening our blood memory. It's awakening what needs to be done and how our relationships need to be done and handled and cared for, and that we're here on Blackfeet land, and that there are relatives. We're all relatives. And there's power in our culture and combining those things, and to awaken those methodologies and talk story, and to learn from each other, and to support each other in ways that we didn't even know that we needed. And that awakens our blood memory, and the community that we build here, it represents a support and a movement that needs to be done. And the relationship to the land of us being here, of us being with all of these, we didn't come to this place to be in community. We already came to a community. You know, there's all these things around us that are moving, that are telling us things, but we need to hold them and we need to process them. And it just awakens us to a bigger thing, a bigger relationship. We're not operating in white supremacy. We're on our own terms. We call the shots and we get the power. And that's what this is. It's building on our power. It's awakening. It's knowing what we need to know for our own histories to take steps forward, and to acknowledge how we are hurting. We are so traumatized that we need each other, and that this is This is methodology. This is medicine. This is community building. This is just, it's power. It's power that anyone can feel if we are open to it and if we build upon it.
So what are you doing at the shop? Because this woman does a lot. I mean, you know, she's talking crow, the dog's out there, and she's talking to the dog and crow, the crow's talking back. What do you do there? Just give us an idea.
Okay. So at MTREP, I am the, let's see, what am I? I'm the health, well-being, and special program lead. And with that, I'm listening to BIPOC and I'm gathering stories. It started from a different lens. It started from, okay, what do BIPOC need? How do we need to talk about our allostatic load? And our allostatic load is the amount of stress we receive in this place, especially Montana, the amount of racism that we endure in all the places and everywhere we walk with the stress, and how that impacts our health, how that impacts our chronic conditions, why that makes us deficit based in other people's eyes. So I have to acknowledge those things and tell white people about it and be like, how can you support us? And that doesn't work because we're in the system that white people run it. So how can we support ourselves, through ourselves, for us, by us? And that's what we do, is we build community. We hear stories and we get strong in that way. So that's what I do, is reach out and try to provide support to BIPOC people. And it's organic. It's just wherever I go, I run into people and I have conversation. And that conversation leads to solutions and support and power and a release. You know, you see that release in all of your community that it provides, and that revives your blood. That makes you feel good. That makes, it's just community, being with each other, caring for each other. That sort of care needs to be everywhere. We need to care for each other. We need to talk to each other, and we need to lift each other up because we're already pushed down by everybody else. So we have to care for each other in those ways. And so that's what this work has led us to do, is to acknowledge our health through our histories, to talk, to awaken our blood memories, and to do all of those things that is good for our bodies, and that helps us exist, to build relation to the land.
It's kind of funny because like the three of us are addicted to peanut butter. So like we're like, and these guys that go run 5 miles. I mean, I will hike, but we were like talking about bear root. We were talking about the peppermint, with all the like the medicinal stuff. So like, and all the BIPOC, well, there's peppermint. So we're gonna go pick the peppermint. So when by the next couple of days, I'm gonna share the peppermint forgiveness story, and we're gonna drink it together as some of our ceremony here, so that we can have like a boundary, let some of that stuff go, so that we show up with clarity. And so, and we were just like last night, you know, we were by the creek, listening to the creek in the rocking chairs, and just discussing all the things that we could do in the next 5 years with our group here, because we just got some trailblazers. And so we'd like to invite our next sister. You know, and when I look at her, I just like, you know, I you know when you meet like a lawyer kind of thinking person that don't take it. But then you also, so please introduce yourself and tell us what you do and what you're wishing for.
Okay. My name is Akilah Lane. I am a staff attorney at ACLU Montana. Let's see, and what I'm wishing for. I think I don't think I know. What I keep thinking about is I am wishing for communities to heal, for our communities to heal. And the way I want that to happen is for us to have personal sovereignty. And I think a lot of how we view ourselves in the world and what we imagine for our futures is actually deficit based, because for so long what we thought we deserve and what we thought we could have is based on what slave owners, oppressors, colonizers told us was allowed for us. And I see that we get stuck, like even in our movements, we get stuck on thinking like, how do we have power in these structures that weren't made for us? And we feel successful if we like end up in rooms that never envisioned us being there. And I'm like, forget about that. We should, I want us to I want so much more for us. I want us to eliminate that and have just an expansive view of what the world can look like when we really think about what we can achieve without thinking about the systems in place. So I want to break apart the systems. I want white people to learn our languages. I don't want us to be code switching. I want them to. I want the systems to reflect that. I want us to believe that we deserve boundaries, that we deserve rest, that we deserve all these things. And I want us to live in community that supports us. I want us to support and love each other in a way that within our own communities, we call out the things that we do to oppress ourselves. We call out the internalized racism, the internalized pain that we, like, that's the lateral oppression. And I see that so much. And I see that in our community of leadership too. And like, the only way that we're really going to make that change is if we break apart all of that, and that we start believing in ourselves and each other, and that we with love support each other and call that out, and then encourage each other, push each other to expand what we think we're capable of. And then also, I think there is something about excellence. I also feel like that is like part of the colonizer. Like the only way we've ever been able to have anything is if we're excellent. Forget about that too. Like just us being here, we are excellent because we've survived. We don't need to do more than that. We need to be okay and support the fact that like there are different, like you're not only successful if you're a lawyer or a doctor, it's the healers in our community. And we need to change that too. Like we need to change our vision of what is success and what is excellent to reflect our values in our communities. So I just want to break apart America as it is, re-envision something, or not re-envision, vision for the first time, a future that was never allowed for us to vision.
You know, and when we were eating our peanut butter, hey,
We brought our own jar.
and they brought their own jar. You were talking about some of the work you were talking about, Indian Child Welfare Act, and about the children in Montana, the BIPOC children, including the Native children. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, I've just been looking at what's happening to children, because I also believe so much in, you know, that, what is the word? Genocide is still going on. It's just more quiet, especially to brown communities. And we see it. We see how one parent like is put away in a carceral setting and how that destroys the family unit. We see that Indigenous children are taken, even though we have ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act. Nonetheless, we see that tribes are not actually afforded concurrent jurisdiction. So those children are ending up in white families. So that's another way to kill the family structure, to kill the ability for the culture, the stories to be passed along. And I think with that, like that's another system that we need to change. Like when a family is struggling and social services or whoever gets involved, and the first action should be, how do we heal this whole family so that this child can stay in with this family, so this culture survives, and so that the stories are passed on, and so that families heal, rather than there are some things, and rather than coming in saying this is deficit, this family is not providing what we the white people think they should, or there's abuse and other things that are actually happening, and so we're going to remove the kid. Instead, it should be focused on how do we support, how do we resource, how do we service. And that should come from our communities, you know, like even the resources we provide and the needs that we see, like there has to be a way that it's sourced, resourced, and supported within our communities.
Mm-hmm. And when you're saying that, you know, start to think, how do I be sovereign? How am I sovereign? How are my relationships sovereign? How is my community sovereign? And how do we, I don't know, it's like, honor each other. And that's part of what this gathering is about. So I kind of, before you see sister up there, this sister can articulate. So because we honor that articulation, but we just wanted you to get a sense of, there's 30 of us. You're looking at 4 of us and an executive director. So we wanted to invite you to be part of us. And with this power hour, and that's why Native Wellness Institute has always allied with the Montana Black Equity Project. So, sister, and she was just chasing that horse around. I couldn't believe it. She just had that. She was just like in there, and she owned the place. She was sovereign, So. Can you on mic and tell us what you do or what you're wishing for in the future?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. It is so magical. It is so humbling. It is so grounding to be here at this time with these amazing individuals. And my name is Chris Young-Greer. I am the education reform lead for the Montana Racial Equity Project. I have been in Montana for 4.5 years now. I am a native Californian and moved down to the Bitterroot Valley, which is where I am based out of as a remote employee for MTREP. This week, the past few days has been a resurgence of my spirit. It's been a resurgence of my soul. Ray talked about blood memory. I don't know if that's what we call it as African Americans, but there has been an awakening of my ancestors, and being here in community with these powerful individuals that are here has made me so proud, because I'm thinking, as I look around at every table and at every individual, I realize that systematically colonizers have tried to eliminate us in so many ways, to annihilate our culture, to annihilate us, to erasure completely. And they've tried to do that systemically. They've tried to do that with physical force. But you know what? We are here. We are here. We are thriving. And what that has taught me, what that has brought to memory is that the blood that courses through our veins is something that cannot be extinguished, not by racism, not by hatred, but it's also brought to memory the very idea that while we may not remember that, those that seek to oppress us and annihilate us are fully aware of it, and it's their fear. It is that fear that they continue to operate in to get rid of us, because they know how powerful we are, even if they have systemically and systematically lied to us and told us that we aren't. So what I see and what I want is for us to remember that the blood that courses through all of our veins, we are here on the back of our ancestors, right? And that power and that drive to survive and that regalness and that wisdom courses through all of us, right? And so what is it that I want to see happen? Oh gosh, we only have an hour. But what I want and what has already started here and what I am so thrilled about is that we are in community and we are learning about the other communities. And I think that what is so important and what is vastly needed is that coming together, like Akila talked about, because I also understand that the fear that the colonizers and some of those people out there have is, oh my gosh, I hope they don't all get together and realize how powerful they are. And the change that they can affect, right? And that is exactly what we're going to do.
We are doing it, girl. We are so doing it.
We are absolutely doing it. So, there's going to be that change. I no longer want our Black and brown children, speaking on children, to feel like they are less than. I do education. That is my thing. I am working hard to dismantle, to be a part of that dismantling of the preschool to prison pipeline, the torture and blatant disregard for Black and brown bodies when it comes to students and SROs, the treating of our young people like they're adults, but not only adults, but criminal adults, where they have done nothing to deserve that moniker. So what my desire is for the next 5 years is to continue in this community that we've built, to make our presence known, like Ray J said, to not be surprised when we see Black and brown faces in positions of power, and to not let someone else write our narrative. We don't need anyone else to speak for us. We are smart, intelligent, and wise enough to speak for our own damn selves, and we don't have to run anything through anyone else, right? And it is time for not us to take in what is being fed us, the pablum that is being fed us. It is time for them to listen and chew on the meat and everything that we are giving them. We are now in a position to where we are nourishing them. We are not accepting, the bland truth that they are trying to feed us. We have our own truth, and we are putting that truth out into the atmosphere, and people will listen because we will not allow them not to. We are not going back to a position to where, after the horrific murder of George Floyd, we're not going to listen to, well, let's wait and see what happens. We cannot put the genie back in the bottle. We will not allow the genie to go back into the bottle. It's out here, right? And we are not going backwards. We're moving ahead forward. And we're not moving ahead forward with small steps because we're tired of saying, well, let's just give it a little time. You've had 400 years. That's enough time. If you have not gotten it together in 400 years, we are no longer waiting another 400 years. I don't have time for that. I have 20 years maybe left, and I'm going to make you understand, learn, listen to, and acknowledge my truth and the truth of my children and all of our other children. We're not waiting any longer. We are no longer spoon feeding white people to the point to where they feel comfortable in change. You either get on board or you get out of the way.
Okay. we're snapping and speaking it. So in our remaining time, just like, some of you've been learning the tribal history of the 8 tribes in this state. And you've gone out and you're sitting with people and hearing stories. But what did you think about in terms of healing when they found those 215 bodies by the residential school? And now we're beginning to work on the healing. And this is important because we have to talk about our emotional well-being. And that's what Native Wellness Institute is about. So since we have our brothers and our sisters here, we'll just start with Judith. Judith. Yeah. Why don't you tell us about what you did in Wyoming looking for that?
Oh,
You just tell us that part and tell, because go for it.
okay. Before I do that, I feel like making Chrissy our spokesperson for this all. Oh my gosh, Chrissy, you slayed. All right, so my husband and I recently went on vacation and we went to go see some things that, even though we've lived in this area for so long, that we hadn't been able to get to previously. And one of those places that I really, really, really wanted to go was a place that actually doesn't exist anymore. It was a very small town, a village, a hamlet that was called Empire in Wyoming. And it was northeast of Torrington, Wyoming, which is northeast of Cheyenne, Wyoming. And Empire, Wyoming consisted of about 60 Black folks, families who were homesteading. They had been awarded double the amount of normal lot size for homesteading. Of course, that's on stolen land. What can we say, right? Jeez. But anyway, it turns out that they had gotten twice as much acreage because there was no water on it. And it was really hard for them to survive. They had all moved from Nebraska, from a larger Black village or group of people who were living in Nebraska, very western Nebraska. And I think that was in the late 1800s. And they were doing okay. It's just that the nearest town of Torrington, which was all white, whenever anything turned up missing or broken or something, they would blame the people in Empire for doing that. And the Empire people were not doing that, but they were Black, right? Eventually, a young man who had some mental challenges was accused of doing something wrong. All the people in Empire knew that he hadn't done that, but he was lynched. And that was, I think, in 1913. And by 1930, there were only about 4 people left in Empire because all the Black people were leaving because it was inhospitable. Not only was the land that they were given inhospitable for them to be able to thrive, not just, they couldn't even survive it. So eventually there were, like I said, there were only 4 people and they left, and there's no trace of Empire to this day. You kind of know where it was just because of just what little is in history. You can Google Empire, Wyoming and find out quite a bit on it. NPR did a story on it. The state of Wyoming has some pieces on it on their website for the Historical Society. But there is a little cemetery in a place called Sheep's Creek. I think that was called Sheep's Creek Cemetery in Nebraska, just over the border from Wyoming. And it's a cemetery that catered to white people. But within the very small, very rustic, very small cemetery fencing, there is a large stone that had engraved on some prominent people from Torrington who were buried there, but also that there are 4 little Black boys, little Black baby boys who are also buried there. They were granted burial within the cemetery walls. Outside the cemetery walls are the graves of some of the people from Empire who were buried there, but there are no markers and they were buried outside the fencing. So I really wanted to go there just to be on the land, to think about them as our ancestors and what they went through, what they endured, what they tried to do, and the trials and tribulations that they faced and eventually had to leave. And that there are modern day equivalencies always all over this country about that. And because we live in Montana, I feel even more of a connection with that because the land there was very much like what some of the land in Montana is like. So I honored them. I wanted to be there to honor them and to take in some of that myself, to feel the soil. So that was very, very important.
And thank you, Judith. You know, I'm getting tears again because she went there with the intentions with her husband and her dog and had a ceremony. And so we all have to plan for our healing ceremonies at all the empires in the United States where African American, where our Southern American, you know, from Peru to Colombia to Mexico came up. We have to go to, you know, from Allison Island over and have ceremonies where they killed us and put us in the ground and left it an unmarked grave. You know, that's what we're doing here too. We're doing the healing. When we leave you, we're in session again because we're proactively planning, and we do a lot of crying, but then we cry and then we plan. Then we get down with the action steps. We're not laying on the couch. We're not just staring at Netflix. We're into action. And so I wanted to hear from sister and from brother and we're all holding each other because we've been so close in thought that we just continually have ceremony and then how we need to proceed. So what's the reaction? Chris, what are you thinking? Tell us a little bit about how we should heal.
You know, those tears that we cry collectively, you know, as they fall to the ground, strengthen the roots of all of our family trees, you know. And so those, you know, those tears that are not only cleansing to our bodies, they promote growth in that healing and strength in those branches and in those limbs, you know, and it causes those to grow and to flourish and to become beautiful and to flower and to bear fruit, you know. That healing process looks like no longer being alone in that sorrow, but knowing that there is a brother and a sisterhood of shared atrocities, but also shared triumphs, you know. And what I would like for us to remember is that, you know, through all of the trauma and the allostatic load that Ray has so beautifully and continually educates us on, we work through that because we are those strong people and because we have that community and because we have that village mentality and that village history, you know, and we can support each other. It's like Ray said earlier, when one of us needs rest, we come alongside and we lift up without even asking if there needs to be help, because that is what we do as a family, more so than a community. And as a family that so many people have told us that they've tried to separate those ties, those familial ties, you know. But when we come here this week and we have this and we share those burdens and we share that trauma and we share those lived experiences, once again, we have more in common than we have differences, right? And to share those stories, there is strength in that, because again, with all the trouble that has been visited upon us, we have not faltered, we have not failed, we have not gone away. And I want us to remember that. If there is anything that I want us to remember as we leave here, is the strength that we possess as communities, and as Indigenous, as BIPOC communities. And that healing looks like being able to go to one another and say, I need you to smudge for me. I need you to lift me in prayer. I need you to walk beside me. I need you to carry me because I'm so tired that I can't carry myself right now. And have the type of relationships to where we can freely ask that and know that it's going to be received positively and that we will get that love and support.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. You know, I could just reach out. They're in the other rooms. We'll hug later. You know, it's so weird because it's like a safe hug. We're safe hugging each other here, and it's kind of miraculous. Like even the ceremony when we were all riding the horse up the hill, and it was, you know, some of us haven't been on a horse or some never rode a horse, but we all trusted each other enough to do it together. And we got 2 hours up the hill and down the hill. And then what was really beautiful is like where the horses walked, we used that black dirt to put the smudge in when we prayed yesterday. And we took a long time to pray and clean each other. And then we prayed for each other, and it was it was BIPOC. It's not like there's not the correct way to do it. It was just like the spirit brought all of us together. And that's what's experienced. And that's why we wanted to come to you today. Seattle Indian Health Board is sponsoring this, paying for this. This is week 68. It's free. Go to the YouTube Native Wellness Institute and you can see all 375 of them. And it's free to Indigenous and white people. You can watch too, because you got to learn. Yes, to learn. We opened in the door. we have about 10 minutes to go, so I wanted to have brother talk and our sisters together their thoughts too. So brother, tell us, what were you thinking?
Can I say something first?
Yes, please go ahead.
I'm gonna butt in here first.
Oh,
Sorry. And just say how proud I am of my team, how proud I am of Akila, and I'm so grateful to have gotten to know her. That's such a powerful person. And the whole thing is just the work that we do is lifting the voices and elevating the agency of Black, Indigenous, and people of color with a very intersectional lens. Disability is all wrapped in that. Queer trans is all wrapped in that. I mean, but the point is that when things are equitable and just for us, they're equitable and just for everyone. For everyone. Everyone is lifted up by it. So there are those in our society here in the United States and around the world who would, some people say, oh, they would like to see us wiped from the face of the earth. No, that's not true. They would just rather we be completely subjugated. And I'm not saying all white people, but this is the dominant culture. There are a lot of people out there who would just rather we just be completely subjugated. But you know what? That's not a healthy society. That is not a healthy society. What is equitable and what is just for us is for everyone and for all of society. So Ray, go on ahead.
Okay. Yeah, talking about equity. I was thinking about what Chris said about kids, and made me think of this personal anecdote that I'm going to share to extrapolate on my desire to see representation. When I was a young adult after the advent of a smartphone, I remember watching movies and TV shows, which I've always loved stories. I think stories are the building blocks of culture. And, those are just stories that you get to watch. And so, I'd be watching movies and I'd see, a Latin character, and I'd instantly get on my phone and Google, is that actor actually Latin? Am I going to see somebody up on that screen? And most of the time, they weren't like me.
Mm-hmm.
And my dream is that when, boys and girls and non-binary folks and non-gendered folks are Googling these actresses and actors to see, if they see themselves represented, I want them to not even have to. I want them to know, yes, they're proudly BIPOC and they're proudly representing, because, I want people to feel special when they see people like them on, TV and in the news. I don't want them to feel like I did and just feel the disappointment when you look it up and be like, oh, no, they're not actually, because that's, as a young person, that just stinks. It hurts. It sucks to see that. And I'm tired of that sucking for the younger folks and for the older folks and for all of the folks. I'm tired of that. I want people to see themselves in what they consume, because if you're consuming colonizer garbage, that's what you're going to have on your mind. And that's it. But if you see BIPOC representations and Indian representations and Black representations, and they're uplifting you and your culture, you leave that feeling renewed. I mean, even if they're not Latin, when I watch a film and I see an amazing Black actor or actress leading it, I take something more away from that, because I understand the struggle that they went through to get there. And, it shows me that it's possible, but it's not possible unless we all work to make it possible.
Thank you, Ray. And we're, as you can see, we're nodding heads. We've been, we have one of our norms is oops, ouch, and snap. Which we catch ourselves and we might say something inappropriately. So we say, oops, forgive me. And then if someone says something, because if they picked up the colonizers' belief, we say, ouch, ouch, where'd you hear that? Columbus discovered America? Bull.
Frankly.
Oh, you know. So, and then snap is just like, we just agree. It is just good. We got it. So I wanted to get some closing comments from these two, because their energy is good. You know, they were out there organizing the horses. The horses were going to retaliate and mutiny and run away from these white people. No. That's how they are. Wherever they are organized and there's mutiny. So I want to have our two sisters have a little bit of closing comments. So who wants to go first?
Yeah. Okay. I think, the initial prompt was healing and what that looks like. And I'll say yesterday at one of our sessions, you said you cannot stagger to justice and that, or to freedom. To freedom. And that made me sob openly, because that connected to me the most, because I see so much pain in our communities related to how we internalize and cope with the trauma. And I see how hard I see that we have work to do to heal ourselves and each other, and to provide support for ourselves and each other, and to show up more honestly about our pain, and to more honestly feel free to say, hey, like, these things are causing pain. Like, I see things in us that are the results of the pain from the oppressor, and we need to stop that. And also, I think part of that, another thing you said is like, I'm protected, but I won't be disrespected. And thinking about that, like, how do we support and encourage each other to be respectful of ourselves, that personal sovereignty? Because again, we need to do the personal work. We need to each support each person that we love in our community, and this community that's working so hard to envision a new future. We need to support a new culture where it's okay to have boundaries, and to support the boundaries of others, and to encourage that, to really say, like, I see, you need rest and you're struggling. Let me know how you need to be supported in that. And so that's what I keep thinking about, is healing the community, but like healing our own community by listening, watching, and seeing, and finding a new way for us to come together to really heal all the wounds that come with trying to stagger to freedom, because we see a lot of that, and it's really harmed our entire communities.
And before I come to you, sister, I was an activist, but I was still a social drinker. And I realized that just across the board, Indian people didn't trust me, because addiction is slavery. And you don't know you're a slave until you use it constantly for coping. And it's not that you're a bad person. It's just that you used it for coping because it hurts too goddamn much what they've been doing to us. And so, but once you find the other cultural things that can fill you up, and you don't need to toke, or you don't need a Budweiser, or you don't need a little fentanyl. I mean, once you don't need all that stuff, you realize it's the songs, it's the drumming, it's the dancing, it's just the food, cooking the food together and eating together. It's the weddings, it's the rites of passage, it's the cultural identity. It's all of that fills us BIPOC. And what we're doing is appreciating each other. And we're going to leave the door open for you colonizers, because you ain't moving away either, it looks like. We can't evict you. So let's like figure out, I swear, how we can get along. Let's figure out how we can get along. And so I want to give a little sister here. I respect her because she's Pagan clan, and we have a long history. Crows and Blackfeet do get along. So sister, what you thinking, and some closing comments?
I was adopted by two Blackfeet collies at a language institute, so I've always been very close to Blackfeet, and I feel like it is in my blood. We all have the same blood. something going in there is similar. This is just a powerful, everyone, all of the words together, it's just so powerful to hear and to be with, and the healing that is taking place. And I'm a recovering alcoholic. I have been sober. I don't know if anybody can see that, but it's just 2009. And I have been sober that long, but have been operating in a different lifestyle. But to acknowledge this identity search, this identity path, this journey that I'm on, to allowing people to talk about race, to talk about their bodies, to talk about their health, to acknowledge all of the things that have hurt them, is a journey to who you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to be, and to feel it and to feel awoke by that. And so I welcome anybody to our office. If you're in Montana, if your skin happens to be a little bit darker, if you experience some shit, come see us and build community. Be with us, be supported, and be happy and support your people around you. We don't need to oppress each other. We get enough from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
We have to stop that, and we have to take steps forward together.
Mm-hmm.
So out and live your life. Listen to your blood.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to your ancestors.
Mm-hmm. 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 And that, so you can all see, because like we're like just like yeah, I'm just looking, we're all in close vicinity, but think about that. We came to you for this hour. Now you know what BIPOC is. You've been hearing, because some people it's like, the new terms. It doesn't matter. We've been here. We're learning each other's history. We're healing together, but we're celebratory. Like we are celebrating because like we hear, we learn something from each other, and we're going, or oh sister, ooh, you just like, we have to snap because she tells us a piece of history, and then it's oh snap, little brother tells us how we're gonna non-binary are gonna rule. And then someone else comes in, so it's celebratory. So we want to close with that. We just celebrated the 4th of July. Every day is an Indigenous Day. And from this moment forward, every day is Indigenous Day. And we're inviting you to come along with us. We'll work it out. We're adults. We're intelligent. We're smart. We're brilliant. And we'll figure it out. And that's all we're saying to you today in this Power Hour. We want to thank Native Wellness Institute. I'm part of that team. We want to thank Shailene Joseph and Jolene Joseph for making this happen. It's always like, they just make it, like 10 minutes before, woo, woo, production, woo, woo, woo. So we want to thank you, audience, and we're going to ask you to share this. Put this message out there. It's like, when we all heard George Floyd say, "I can't breathe," all the mamas in the world heard you. And now all of you are hearing us BIPOC, our alliances, share this, because just as all the mamas heard him, we're all hearing about those children, and we're hearing, but we know we have some answers, and our answers are within us, and we're not competing. It's not competitive. There's a synergy of love. There's a synergy of appreciation. There's a synergy of, wow, I didn't know that. Now, man, we get closer to each other in building alliances and building solutions in policy and education and just celebration, like on 4th of July, we were all talking, BIPOC is doing it a different way, and so we're going to close. I hope that you can feel our energy, our synergy, because this is who we are. And we invite you to we have Judith on all the time. We'll put the numbers in the comments. You can call the office, and our staff will talk to you. You can call their office. Judith, tell them your number. What's the office number so they can call and talk to you? Oh, they can talk to Ray.
Mute.
I'm going to refer people to our website, and there's a portal there that you can send us a message. So our website is www.the for the and MT as in Montana, REP as in Racial Equity Project.org. So once again, www.themtrep.org. And if you want to send us a message, if you want to know about our equity, inclusion, and justice outreach and consulting, if you want to donate, it's all there. Okay. Thank you. And
Okay.
thank you to A&B Philanthropies and Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation for giving us this wonderful, wonderful space, for the help that the staff has been so gracious and so helpful to us as we work through these very, very difficult issues.
Yes.
And Judith, thank you for inviting Native Wellness Institute and inviting me as your female traditional consultant, which is different than male traditional consultant. I'll just say that.
Elder. Yeah. Yes.
So we're gonna say goodbye, and we'll see you down the road. And we love you. We love you.
Bye.